Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade was something I was really ecstatic to try out, after tasting the sweet ecstasy of demon blood for the first time. The game's demo, which had quite a lengthy progression, was such a fun experience that I just couldn't let it end there. However, came May 15th, and the childlike grin that I had as if I was opening a brand new toy on Christmas Eve suddenly turned upside down after having a couple of hours into it. Because sadly, the game that had left such a good first impression on me just couldn't follow through till the end. So here are my thoughts as we try to dissect Yasha and its demons one after the other. Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is a game made by an indie game development team in Taiwan. It's a game that pushes you into the role of a demon slayer in a world where Fox Demon is running rampant and spreading chaos. The action RPG infused with roguelite mechanics is, in one way or another, not a completely unique experience, but it's one that does feel interesting to say the least. Filled with what they consider as authentic Japanese ambience, you're supposed to immerse yourself in its world while enjoying the engaging and seamless combo attacks against hordes of relentless demons. So now my question is, did I get immersed? Yes. Did I enjoy its full combat system and mechanics? Also, yes. But did it last long? Sadly, it did not. Despite an enjoying experience, Yasha is something that just couldn't hold itself together as you play through it. Its story that will have you go through 3 yet unlinked storylines just doesn't feel as cohesive as I expected it to be. In one run, you'd be in the ghetto, or rather, the wooden sandals of a young yet mysterious woman training in the way of the sword. But on another, you're an Oni thrown into the mortal realm to look for someone, or maybe just a huge bow-wielding talking tiger trying to protect a small little girl. But whatever the case, it's stories that felt like it was made by completely different people while reusing the same old characters didn't really feel like it was worth all the trouble to know. Although, I will say that some of its story does give it some value, while still honestly baffled at the sudden change of direction in the game's story. The second storyline with Sarah and Oni had such a twisted take that I just couldn't help but laugh. Unlike the more serious Shigeru story arc, Sarah and the many demons that are roaming the land are just hired employees trying to earn a living. In a weird way, I kind of liked it, but the fact that the game heavily reuses its assets is a bit troubling. It's really just a short game made longer by the fact that you'd have to beat the game 3 times in each of its story arcs without much of a change in scenery or enemies. By the third story arc, I end up finishing the first chapter on the first attempt without any upgrades, which only took half an hour considering I've done it so many times already. Roguelites are repetitive by nature. In fact, not having any repetitiveness could probably question myself if I can still call it one. And as an action RPG that does follow the roguelite formula, the game does tick all of the boxes that I like about them. An addictive combat system, the meta progression from failed runs, as well as all the spunky weapons and upgrades you can possibly get from one run to the other. Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is a bit of a unique one though. Aside from having 3 possible characters, each with their own unique weapon types like Shigeru's samurai swords to Sarah's twin blades, and even Taketora's bow and arrow, the amount of fun little upgrades you can get for each of them can be quite interesting, especially since you're not at the full mercy of RNG. No, what you have here is freedom. The freedom to choose your preferred weapon to be crafted from blade shafts you'll find dropped by a boss, and then equipped to your hip before starting your next adventure. Meanwhile, its RNG comes in the form of upgrades called soul orbs. These soul orbs, exclusively dropped after clearing each stage, grant unique effects such as the ability to use another sword's properties to shoot water blades, or even turning your sword into a demon-slaying tactical nuke. Yep, you heard that right. A tactical nuke in the Edo period of Japan. The upgrade was so crazy that it single-handedly made my run of floor 18 in hell mode like I was playing it on easy. But what really left a sour taste in my mouth is the fact that each of the 3 chapters and each of its 3 storyline arcs doesn't provide anything unique. Once you've cleared a chapter, you'll be thrown back at the village to start the next while still trying to fight the same types of enemies and the same limited number of bosses. It's such a repetitive process without any real switch-ups or even added movesets to make it feel a bit more challenging aside from just injecting them with more HP to make them look tougher. Weapons, on the other hand, look unique with all sorts of abilities and effects, but it just heavily overlaps with other weapons in the game's different arcs. While some of them can be unique in their own way, there's just not a lot of identity when a sword imbued with fire meets a bow that shoots fiery arrows. In terms of visuals, the Japanese-inspired theme, culture, and environment is one that has been overused by so many games in general. However, the hand-drawn visuals and scenes are captivating and emotional. It provides a visually striking aura that even if its narrative can be bland, having a really good backdrop to hook me in does work wonders. Its characters, while few, does have its own identity even if it meant falling into the usual tropes. The enemies and bosses in the game, sadly, follows that same trend. There's just so little variety that it kind of makes saying repetitive as being repetitive. Sadly, there isn't a lot of voice acting involved either, but for a small indie developer, it's not exactly a deal breaker. It's good where it has one, and it's just okay where it doesn't. All in all, Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is a game that tried to spread its wings too thin to apply too much, while making too little. It tried to do multiple story arcs while repetitively feeding its players the same thing over and over again. There's just a huge lack of variety in terms of its gameplay, stages, bosses, and even its weapons that I find myself wondering if the time I spent going through them was actually worth it. I had fun for sure, but at what point did I stop thinking it was fun, and where it just became a job? It just really fell short to my expectations when it could have gone a lot better.
And for everything else gaming, choose Envision.
A community built by gamers.